So you're telling me that the Guardians of the Universe looked across the infinite expanse of the cosmos, saw a localized mass shooting in an obscure Nebraska cornfield, and decided to their most decorated, world-weary legend alongside a rigid rookie to play small-town detective. Now, if you came into HBO's Lanterns expecting shiny green laser beams and a CGI villain of the week, then you made a massive mistake. Because what we actually have here is a gritty Midwestern true crime procedural. One where the blood splatter, it just happens to be one that the blood splatter may glow from time to time. The fact that the Guardians sent Hal Jordan and John Stewart to Rushville, Nebraska, tells us that it's not just some random murder. I actually think it is a massive cover-up, one that is all kicked off by a glitching hologram backup delivering a cryptic message. There's hell in Rushville, Nebraska. So before we go any further, spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen Lanterns Episode 1, please go ahead and get out of here now. Hit pause or don't, but come back, check me out later. Make sure you put me in a watch later so you can find the video easily. And with all of that being said, 3, 2, 1, we are about to be in spoiler territory. Let's dissect this crime scene. We have this bizarre anomaly of a mass shooting on a high school football field, where all of the victims look human, but everything about the situation screams extraterrestrial. Now, Hal Jordan literally drags John Stewart into the heartland in 2016, what locals want to just sweep up under the rug and call it just a terrible tragedy. I actually believe this moment right here is the inciting incident that is going to take us into this conspiracy that is clearly going to span decades. The atmosphere here in Rushing, Nebraska is dripping of bleak Midwestern noir, trading the cosmic battlefields for frozen football fields, and also a little bit of that small town. And at the center of it all is a masterclass of friction between our lead detectives, Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Now, Hal Jordan, played by Chandler, has that grizzled Chuck Yeager burnout energy. He's a former test pilot who's operating purely on cynical cop instincts, his dry sarcasm, and a complete willingness to start a bar fight using a Melanie song just to get locked up in jail on purpose. And then on the other hand, you have Pierre's John Stewart, a disciplined ex-Marine sniper, and he's rigid and he's structured. And he clashes a lot with Hal because they're basically polar opposites. Hal has this reckless, rule-breaking arrogance of a hotshot flyboy who basically think rules are just suggestions. And the tension between the two couldn't be deeper because John wasn't chosen traditionally by the ring. He was actually recruited by the Guardians. Now, when they hit Rushville, they immediately slam into this brick wall named Sheriff Carrie Kane. Now, Kelly McDonald is going to play this traditional local sheriff that is effectively freezing one of the universe's most famous lawmen out on her own crime scene. She absolutely refuses to buy into all of his alien theories that this could be connected to any type of extraterrestrial nonsense. But all the roadblocks that she tries to put in place honestly really don't matter, because the real catalyst here is the physical evidence. And it's not her fault that she doesn't understand all the physics and mechanics behind the hologram and the power ring and how it warns them of extraterrestrial shenanigans that could be getting ready to kick off or, threaten the air. But that ring anomaly, the hologram, is probably going to be our anchor to the wider universe. Now, for all my prestige drama fans who may not know their Oa from their elbow, let me go ahead and translate this cosmic bureaucracy for you. And if you already know the history of the Green Lantern Corps and you're not interested in this section, go ahead and skip to this next timestamp. But for everybody else, think of the Green Lantern Corps as not your traditional superhero team, but think of them rather as an ancient, highly regimented, intergalactic police department. And they are run by the Guardians of the Universe. And they are essentially the immortal administrators acting as a high command that is basically an internal affairs. They operate out of their police station or headquarters, whatever you want to call it. They operate out of this place called Oa, and they divide space into sectors. And obviously, Earth falls in one of their jurisdictions, which brings me to the power rings that these officers or the Green Lanterns wear. They aren't just magic jewelry or anything like that. They're basically their sidearms, and they can manifest anything they basically want to using their willpower. And that's basically how they protect themselves, defend themselves, fight, etc., etc., etc. So when this anomalous transmission trigger a localized threat warning on Earth, it means that this crime scene has officially crossed Earth's jurisdiction, and now it belongs to the Green Lantern Corps. And it's exactly those rules of cosmic authority that are immediately tested by the episode's explosive final confrontation. Now, when Hal finally gets his sit-down interview with Sanders, and I'm sure that was courtesy of William Macon's political pressure, the interrogation turns into what we'll call a lethal heartbeat. After a few minutes of stalling, Sanders drops the terrified truck driver act, and he goes on to confirm that he is part of an alien advance team that is there to seek vengeance. He also goes on to warn Hal that he could basically make everything blow up in a second just by having a thought, some biometric neutron device that was woven into his skeleton somehow. So basically what he attempts here is a mass suicide by obviously killing himself, but he was going to try to take as many people as he could with him. But all of this does is force Hal to use the ring, because he did test Hal earlier to see how much power he had left in his ring. But it forces Hal to use his ring to cover him up, and then he explodes and blows out the side of the building, but everybody's pretty safe. But it also confirms, like Hal goes on to tell everybody, he told you he was an alien. But the crazy thing about all of this is just the surface of this deep mystery, because the show doesn't stop there in this first episode. It absolutely rips the rug right from up under you and fast forward to 2026. And we see John Stewart driving back into this town again. It's snowing and frozen. And here we are again, right back at this football field where this mass shooting went down 10 years ago, and he's meeting the sheriff. Now they go on to the field and they go up to walk up those same frozen bleachers. And who do we see sitting there frozen on the stands? Hal Jordan is sitting there shot in the head, dead. And that still isn't even the biggest mystery. One of the biggest mysteries to this is he's missing his power ring. So on top of who killed Hal Jordan, where's his power ring? And now that we have the complete context of the explosive ending, now let's go ahead and talk about who our suspects may be. Because on my theory board, I do think we have to start with Waylon Sanders, who we know isn't the killer because we saw him die, but he was harboring some extraterrestrial secret, and he would not say who he was working for. And then in the local power structure, we have specifically William Macon and also his son that is a lawyer, Billy. Macon is a really good suspect because he commands his own private militia, and he also is the person that bails Hal out of jail 10 years earlier before he dies. And the thing that makes him a little bit more of a suspect is because he's fused this twisted version of an alien-focused version of a great replacement theory. But that is kind of what brings me to my smoking gun theory, because you kind of have to look at the background contradictions. Why was Macon so willing to clear Hal's path in order to interrogate a suspect and also to prove that he was preparing for some intergalactic war? And on top of all of that, it seems that the battleground is going to be right there in Nebraska. I just think with that, some of the ties to some off-world shipping, I just think at worst case scenario, it just proves that this wasn't some random homicide. But obviously, best case, this points directly at him and he's our bad guy. And then even at this point, we have some other characters that we haven't met yet that could also become suspects down the line. But we also can't shy away from the fact that the Guardians themselves could be suspects. Because why would they assign a veteran and a brand new rookie specifically to this obscure county unless there was some type of local power structure that was compromised? But you guys don't hesitate to let me know down in the comments who your prime suspects are, because I'm dying to know who you guys think could be behind the death of Hal Jordan. And I think with all of the evidence that we got in this episode, and we look at episode 2 and maybe some of the trailer shots that we've gotten, it is painfully obvious that William Macon is clearly hiding something up under that ranch. You have the militia, the off-world cover-ups, and his sudden interest in bailing out Hal Jordan, who is a cosmic cop, all just tells me that he's trying to cover up some type of leak in whatever his alien operation is. So here's your debate question for the week, and let me know what you guys think. Does Hal Jordan know significantly more about Rushville and this conspiracy than he is telling John? Because right now, in my opinion, Hal's arrogant detective routine feels a lot more like a cover story for a guy who knows exactly what he's hunting down. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments. So that is episode 1 of Lanterns. I'm not sure if this is season 1 or not, but we'll just call this episode 1 of Lanterns. This is our breakdown. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you for tuning in. Please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hype this video as well. And please keep coming back for more. I will also keep reminding you that I will be posting more on all of the socials as well. So please go and follow me on all of those. And until next week, make sure you keep your rings charged and trust absolutely nobody in Nebraska. And I will see you then.